Hello and welcome back to the Schooner Pod. I'm your host, Bobby Howard. With me today, we've got, as usual, Jamison Maxwell, Ty Lee, and we are here to preview the 2023 Red-White game, the OU football spring game. And guys, look, every year this comes around, and it's just a nice little OU football little beam of light. Ooh, what's wrong?
No, Ty just started playing it on his phone because he always tries to help our viewers, and I heard a little bit of Bobby in the background.
I thought I was hearing things for sure. Oh, that's funny. But the spring game's always like a little bit of a beam of light in a pretty long off season. So I'm pretty pumped. How are y'all guys feeling?
Man, I am feeling so excited because I don't know if I'll be able to make an OU football game in person next year. So this might be my last time for a little bit, Memorial Stadium. And spring games, from what we saw last year, I understand it was the new era of Brent Venables. He's really trying to pump it up to where fans really want to come. And that's something that Lincoln Riley started too. Lincoln Riley made it a recruiting event, and everybody wanted to go because they wanted to be there and say, I was there whenever the 7 eyeballs went on Twitter. Brent Venables is doing something different. He's kind of, bringing in nostalgia, bringing in big events. And the Kyler Murray statue, just, like with the Baker Mayfield statue, should bring in a lot of people.
Yeah. No honky tonk badonkadonk, though.
Oh, man, that's such a bummer. Oh, that's what gets people in the stadium. Come on, you got to use your brain.
Ty, are you excited? Are you excited about everything?
Yeah. I'm excited for the spring game. This is still Brent Venables' OU football, so OU will find a way to lose somehow. I'm not quite sure how, but that just seems to be the norm nowadays. But I'm excited for the spring game, all joking aside. And it'll be interesting to see the team that develops. Obviously, that's what we're going to dive into, and a new structure coming up for the spring game that we're going to touch on here just to begin for those that are unfamiliar or might be confused tuning into the spring game. But I will say, just as a little teasing, I am certainly most looking forward to hopefully seeing a pretty physical team, which, it's the spring game. So only so much you can read into how physical someone's being in the spring game. But I'm looking forward to our O-line specifically as a position group. And then I think our linebackers on the defense, but we'll see as we continue to discuss.
Yeah, for sure. We got a really packed show for you today. We're going to go into the structure and everything, talk about some of the players to watch who we're excited to see. Of course, got to talk about the Kyler Murray statue getting unveiled. But there's a big announcement at the end, and I'm very pumped to talk about that. I know Jamison is as well. And we'll get to that later. But first, let's talk about the structure, as you mentioned, Ty. It's a bit interesting. It's not a standard. Usually these red-white games, the structure has changed a ton over the years, back and forth. This year is a little bit different. There's a bit of an odd scoring system. So it's going to be a proper offense wearing red, defense wearing white. Offense is scoring, it's the exact same. It's points, touchdowns, field goal, extra point. I guess punting is 2 points. I don't really know how that makes any sense.
Come on, they got to at least say punt within the 20-yard line or something. Come on, give the punters some kind of, they not want to be accurate with their punting? Really?
Yeah, I don't know what they mean by punt.
It's a consolation trophy. It's legitimate participation trophy. That's what it is. And I don't like this culture that Brent Venables is putting out there by rewarding our team for a punt. Same thing as a 2-point conversion.
I don't know. It's a pretty bad. I don't know. Pretty bad example to set. What do you think, Ty?
I don't know. I like you said, if it doesn't have because I haven't dug into it, if it doesn't have a specific metric tied to it, I mean, regardless of what it is, it's not a useful sort of standard. Throw a pass. If you just say throw a pass is worth points, is it completed? Is it not? Is there a yardage associated with it? So, I mean, it's just basic everything. You got to have some sort of standard tied to it. So I don't understand maybe typo. There's no way I can justify just 2 points for a punt.
On the defensive side, it's 5 points for a punt. So
why don't
you just do 3 points for a punt on the defensive side?
No, wait. Wait,
What's going on
I
here? What
completely,
picks are we playing
I
on, dude?
completely forgot. My bad. Brent Venables, absolute genius. This does actually make 1000% sense because foolish me, I forgot who our quarterback was. If we even make it to
here
the
we go.
point where we get a chance to punt it, if we even make it to the point where we go 4 downs without our quarterback throwing the ball or giving the ball to the other team, that is a victory. So I do like 2 points for punting, rewards the offense for not turning it over. Bobby's left speechless.
Just points for not messing up. I was on
like,
a
they're
different
never gonna
tab
go
trying to
for it
share
on
to Facebook. I apologize. I was just trying to share to the people.
Yeah, but they're just never going to
yeah.
go for it on 4th down, right? Like, a turnover is 7 points. Is turnover on downs going to be considered a turnover? I mean, I feel like 4th down stop is 7 points. Okay, so
Right.
it's either 7 points for a 4th down stop, or you can just give them 3 points for punting. I still just don't think that they're going to punt much. What's the point? And to be honest, you guys know that it's cupcake defense in spring games. How many opportunities are really even going to get to punt? I think we're just going to go for it every time.
You would think so, and they should. And you shouldn't incentivize punting. And just taking a look at the defensive scoring: 12 points for a defensive touchdown, 7 for a turnover, 7 for a 4th down stop, 7 for a missed field goal, 5 for a punt, 4 for a made field goal, and 3 for a sack. 2 points for a pass breakup, 2 points for an extra point, a missed extra point, and 2 points for a missed 2-point conversion for the defense. So, the odds are pretty stacked in favor of the defense, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to, because it's just, I feel like, you get a lot of quarterback running and you have to hold up on them, and the pass rush is essentially non-existent. It seems like the quarterback can kind of wiggle his way in the pocket to avoid any kind of half-weighted rushers, because any type of guy who's bull rushing on the defensive line, he has to immediately hold up if he gets too far, because it's not worth it to hurt the quarterback. So the quarterbacks are just going to pick apart the defense. So they need to give the defense some kind of advantage. So people are saying, like defense going to live it up. But the thing is, like, they need a handicap because they already are a little bit handicapped due to injury of the quarterback.
That's fair. I'm interested to see how it shakes out for sure. Ty, what do you think about it?
Yeah, you never know what the methodology is behind changing the scoring. I think maybe if you really read into it, I don't know that it's great for fan experience, but I think maybe if I were to give them the benefit of the doubt, it sounds like maybe they're trying to incentivize sort of more normal game-like behavior. So maybe incentivize punting a little bit instead of just the traditional, spring game. You're playing a different game. So I don't know. Maybe there's an attempt there to replicate, maybe through manipulating the point system, a game that appears visually and plays out a little bit more like a normal game. I'm not entirely sure. But, it'll be interesting. I don't want – obviously we can sit here and make the jokes about it, but I'll give it a chance. It's the spring game. So what do we have to lose? Worst case scenario, you get to go out there and get that little teaser of a game day experience and go see hopefully what the team has to offer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
for sure.
I think that the biggest thing really to take away from this little edit that OU put out with this, like the points and everything, is really how it's offense versus defense. It's not going to be like a combination of two different teams that we've seen in the past. Like sometimes I'd be like, I'm really curious to see, what wide receiver 1 is going to look like next to wide receiver 2. Like, Hollywood Brown next to CeeDee Lamb in the spring game. I'm curious how to see how it's going to look. And then sometimes you never know, like they get put on separate teams. And this way, like, I won't have to worry about Jalil Farouk and Andrell Anthony, lining up on the same field and seeing what that would look like. Seeing Jalil Farouk kind of get possession, but also make athletic plays and see what speed looks like on the opposite side. We don't have to worry about who gets on separate teams. Jackson Arnold should be able to throw to who he wants to, who's ever in his rotation at the backup spot. I think that's really good news for the fans, for if you are interested to see like certain relationships that the guys have already made.
Yeah, you get a proper look at the actual units, which I think that is a huge plus. what you see on offense and what you see on defense, that is going to be more representative of what you see, come fall. But yeah, I'm with you. I think that's pretty exciting. Do we want to talk about guys we're excited to see? A couple highlight players. Because I feel like, to me, the spring game is number one thing. I'm always interested to see the new guys, either transfers, recruits, etc. It's never about the returning guys. The last, I suppose, Lincoln Riley's last spring game, I was all about seeing Caleb Williams over Spencer Rattler because I wanted to see what Caleb had to do. And in this case, I don't know.
Bobby was chanting for it. I heard him. He was right next to me. He was chanting for Caleb.
Of course, yeah. I was chanting, "We want Caleb," all the way back in, April.
There were fans doing it back then. They were clamoring. I remember hearing fans that day saying, I think Caleb Williams is a better quarterback than Spencer Rattler. And I think we talked about it on the podcast. And we told them to shut up.
In the spring game, he was. And we were it's the spring game. It's just because he was trying. We did a whole episode where we were like, no, guys, it's because Caleb Williams wanted to show out. He was trying really hard. No, he just was.
And Caleb Williams
Spencer Rattler also didn't really try.
Yeah,
against the regular games.
Has a bad attitude.
No, he wants you to think he didn't try. He's just not good.
Not true. Yeah,
he was trying. He was trying. No, it's like, it was bad because I didn't try.
But he's going to go on podcasts and talk about how he's going to get, whenever he gets drafted, he's not going to say he's from Oklahoma and he doesn't want to get it out. Dude, stop getting ahead of yourself, dude. You haven't played that well. But moving on from that,
like we would be like, we claim Spencer Rattler. No.
Yeah, no, that doesn't make any sense. We don't
think about him at all.
Yeah.
He thinks he was like Marcus Dupree or something. He thinks he was like mistreated here or something like that.
Oh my god!
No, that wasn't a joke. Like I know,
and I'm saying quit from Spencer's standpoint, not from yours.
It's like it's a classic Mad Men line. I feel bad for you. I don't even think about. And then John Hamm responds, "I don't even think about you at all." So that's just the thing. Is, I don't.
Go for it.
No, I was just saying, like, we don't really, even though we are sitting here on a podcast talking about him, but still, he brought it up.
The thing is, a good transition to get us back on topic is the whole Caleb Williams spring game, what we saw from that. We might get really good performance from Jackson Arnold, but his mindset is completely different than Caleb Williams that year. Caleb Williams was a dog. He came in, he said, I don't care if I'm a freshman. I'm the best quarterback in the nation. I'm going to come in and I'm going to yank this job from him, and I'm going to try my hardest to be that dude. And you could tell him and Spencer, like they had an amicable relationship on the sidelines, but you could tell there was some tension. They're like, this guy's trying to take my job. It's the difference here with Jackson Arnold. He's came out publicly multiple times saying, like, I am ready to learn under Dylan Gabriel. Cute tie joke. But, like, he wants to be a student of his game under a veteran who's been there and done that and kind of play in his shadows because he knows, like, yeah, I could go out there as a freshman, but how much would I go onto the scene as a sophomore if I went and learned, studied the game, and mastered it, and then came out and had my coming out party next year?
For sure. That makes a ton of sense, Bobby. I'm going to steal it from you here.
No, you got
it. It's like when you're given a group presentation in class, and you're not the best presentation, but you know that this one group is just going to be terrible. You don't go first. You let the terrible group go first so that when it's your turn up, you look so much better. The teacher is super excited. It's your project for Latin. The teacher's super excited. You're going to go, everyone's got their little bedsheet togas on, and that this one group didn't do their homework. And that it's your time to shine if you just sit back. You say, you know what? I don't want to go first. I'll let them go first. So you let Dylan Gabriel go first. He does this presentation. He looks terrible. Teacher's day is ruined. And then here you come, your time to shine. That's what it is.
Quit.
Jamison over here having PTSD to Latin projects, getting thrown into a kiddie pool.
I didn't know where Ty was going to go with that. We've made many videos and many projects. I've always been a type of guy who loves going first because let me tell you something. If you go first, if you are bad, there's no one to compare you to. People always remember, the next person after you. That's fine if your performance but his performance will be forgotten comparative if Dylan Gabriel plays bad and Jackson Arnold plays good after him. But if Jackson Arnold played really good, Dylan Gabriel comes in, plays bad, I guarantee you there'd be more comparison. Recency bias is very strong.
Yeah, and I think I don't think there's anywhere close to a quarterback controversy at all at OU.
No, there's zero.
But yeah, no, it's
despite my best efforts.
It's still Gabriel all the way, but it is one of ththose things where I don't know. If Jackson Arnold really lights it up, I can see people, in some corners of the internet, like this podcast, this exact podcast, trying to clamor for Jackson Arnold to start.
Hey, but we called those people crazy with Caleb Williams.
No,
the thing is,
that is true.
You never know. And we didn't have a clear QB2 last year. Like our clear QB2 last year is now playing tight end snaps in practice this week. Now it's very clear.
Oh God, yeah, Bevel doing the tight end reps. That's interesting for sure. The tight end depth is something that desperately needs to be addressed in the portal, honestly.
There's still people that believe that the General Booty moving to tight end is real, that April Fool's joke. There's still people, like, I heard someone the other day talking about, I was like, yeah, did you hear General Booty moved to tight end? I was like, oh, no.
Did OU ever say April Fool's to it, though?
In their defense, yeah, it makes so much sense, though, because that's the natural career progression for someone that comes into college as a quarterback, and it's just not there. It's just not clicking. They almost always get moved to tight end. So it's hard to, yeah. Tim Tebow in the NFL, even. Like it's I mean, I could continue to point out examples, but it's always Hans Franz from TCU.
Hans Franz, that's right.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, so that was a kind of a tricky one. Because I could still see him getting moved to tight end. But I think while we're on the topic of the offense, this might be kind of a good segue into just maybe naming, kind of like we do game balls, offensive players we're looking forward to seeing. Not to jump ahead, but
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's time to kind of get to it, like a bit of a pre-ball.
Yeah, I'll go first. Let me go first, Ty, because I've already got mine.
No, I don't have anyone. I don't have anyone at all. So
I've got two, and here's my mindset on it, because with this offense versus defense setup, it is, like I said, a different game than what we're expecting to. So in the past, we're like Bobby said, I'm curious to see these new guys, these early enrollees, these transfers, these guys that might not be a starter, but I'm excited to see them. Let me just name the early enrollees just so people know that these are the guys in this 23 class that are going to be there. And the ones that you don't hear are probably not enrolled already. And some of these guys are hurt and won't be playing, but PJ Adebaware, obviously a guy on defense people will be looking at. Jackson Arnold, Josh Bates on the offensive line, Peyton Bone, Kendall Dolby, the D-back. Caden Green getting first team reps at left tackle right now was Rouse being hurt. Caleb Hicks, running back, Derek LeBlanc, Eric McCarty is out. He's hurt. Phil Pachotti, Ashton Sanders, Dalen Smothers, Makari Vickers, Josiah Wagner are the early enrollees, so look for those names. But with this new format, not to be too long-winded, I'm looking for guys in this game that might be actually getting reps in with the ones that are new, and that would be fun. Because I want to see guys that are actually going to go contribute for this team come the fall. We got all excited about Jaden Gibson last year. We're like, wow, look what he did in the spring game. And then we barely saw him throughout the year. So I don't want to put my eggs in one basket of some young guy that we're probably not going to see too much of. But I think Angelo Anthony is the guy that I want to look at. He's got the speed on the team that we haven't had at the wide receiver position for a while. And he's just wowed in practice. I want to see what the coaches have been seeing, and I want to see why Michigan didn't give him enough run. I know he got a little bit, but why did he leave and come to OU? Whenever, Michigan's got a pretty good system up there for passing as of recently. So that's the guy by far I'm looking at the most whenever they come onto the field for the first time, because he should be starting.
Yeah, I had Anthony circled as well in my head. I mean, we've seen the highlights. He's an absolute burner. And he seems like a guy who can really make an impact in a spring game type environment where, you're not going to circle, even though I think Adebaware is incredible in a game where you can't properly hit the quarterback, where intensity, physicality is tuned down a little bit, that doesn't, impact as much. But a guy like Andrew Anthony, where you can really show those flashes, that's going to be there. I would say, all things considered, the wide receiving core is definitely up there. Obviously Anthony being the highest one for sure, but let's talk a little bit about Nick Anderson. I've heard good things about him in practice. Rodney Anderson's little brother. Would love to see him tear it up. Would be pretty cool. Always love a Sooner legacy going out there tearing it up. On the other side of the ball, Peyton Bowen as a freshman. This is a guy who should likely see first team snaps, like quite a few. And I feel like the secondary and the wide receivers are where you see like the truest form of competition in this sort of event. And I think that it could be a place where he could step up and really make a name for himself, really show out. So I'm going to go with Peyton Bowen as my original kind of pick here.
So we're doing. I'm sorry.
Go ahead and do your offense and defense, Ty, and then I'll hit my defense at the end.
You know what? I have.
My apologies.
I have two. No, it's okay. I just got a little mixed up because I was doing my reading. So at the start of this segment, Bobby talked about how he's excited, or y'all talked about how you're excited to see the new guys, not necessarily the returning guys. I also like seeing the returning guys, but I want to fit, the general vibe of the podcast. We're talking about the new guys today, right? So what am I to do but to find that gray area that I also love on these segments and find a returning guy that's also a new guy? My man, our man, everyone's favorite tight end, Austin Stogner, coming back to OU. He realized he became wise to the fact that Spencer Rattler was the problem. He has returned. I don't want to put words in. I don't know.
Well, are you going to be a Dylan Gabriel believer or what is it?
I know. No, I would rather have Spencer Rattler on this team right now. I'll say that right. I loathe Spencer Rattler. God. I wish he would come back just for
what did Dylan Gabriel ever do? Like,
what do you mean? We were 6 and 7 last year.
Dylan Gabriel.
We were 6 and 7 last year, Bobby.
It wasn't Dylan Gabriel's fault, though.
It wasn't his fault.
It was not his fault.
He does have some part of the blame. I'll give that to Ty. But
yeah, he wasn't great. He wasn't perfect. I think I'd rather put up with the dip in quality between Gabriel and Rattler for
obviously
him being a more likable dude.
No, this is going to go off the rails. We would at least be 7 and 6 if we had Spencer Rattler.
There it is. That's it. That's what we need.
We would have beaten Florida State.
I don't think it would have been Florida State.
No. We would have beat someone.
We almost beat them.
Spencer Rattler can at least kind of run.
Dylan Gabriel can kind of run.
Dylan Gabriel can kind of run more than Spencer Rattler can kind of run.
Like Tom Brady can kind of run.
No, Tom Brady can't run.
Tom Brady can't run at all.
Tom Brady probably has more rushing touchdowns. I'll pull up
that dude a QB sneak king though.
Okay. Yeah, but is that what I said? No. So, anyways, okay. Austin Stogner returning. It's good to have a good, experienced tight end. I don't want to say he's necessarily bringing something from too different of a system. Obviously, his coach for his time at South Carolina was, in fact, a coach at Oklahoma. We love Coach Beamer here. But, I'm excited to see him coming back, sort of returning from a sabbatical and maybe integrating some stuff from there. Also on the offense, I have Andrew Rame because I think that, all joking aside, Dylan Gabriel is not as bad as my bits say, but I do think he needs some help, and I don't think we realistically have an option to replace him. And that's fundamentally the Dylan Gabriel issue. Is he's most probably the best thing that we have, and just complaining about something if you don't have a solution for it doesn't really do much. So we're not going to do any better by replacing our quarterback, that's for certain, unless something crazy happens. Anything's possible. So it's really on the line, and this line specifically, I mean, out of the 5 guys on your O-line, we lost 3, and we lost 3 that went to the draft. We didn't just lose 3. We had 3 go to the draft. That is a big deal. So 2 returners on your line, that's a massive, massive turnover rate. And I'm really excited to see Andrew Raym specifically, not necessarily for his performance as an individual player, although I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to see him as a leader on this team. It's the spring game, so you're only getting so much. But I'm talking about that in between the plays. Is he talking to people? Is he pointing stuff out when he sees mistakes? Is he being that leader on the field before it has to go to, the coaches or someone else? That's what I'm really looking forward to. And I think that'll be a really good indicator of how this line is going to perform down the road, because five stars on your line that aren't working together, arguably much worse than 5 2-stars on your line that are all in lockstep working together the entire time, at least when it comes to the O-line.
Here's the thing, Ty. Little bit of a practice inside thing that I read. Andrew Raym, like this week, got thrown out of practice because he was arguing with one of the grad assistant coaches, and he's a senior.
Nice.
We thought, whenever we say like, oh, this is a smart, level-headed, big guy who's strong, and you think, oh, is it going to be Creed Humphrey 2.0? Like this is a guy that's from, Oklahoma. You already make comparisons. It's easy. He's a senior, and I understand he's been hurt recently, but like you said, Ty, he needs to step up, become a leader on this offensive line, because McKay Metallier next to him showed that he wasn't the strongest option at guard, but we really don't have much guard depth. Savion Byrd will be the other guard starting. He showed a lot of promise, but has a lot to prove this season. And then left tackle Walter Rouse is hurt. So Caden Green, true freshman, is given first team reps all throughout this past couple weeks, months. So like you're talking about one guy that needs to actually play well. It's going to be Caden Green as like on the freshman. He needs to play well because we need someone at left tackle to step up and be that dude. And then Tyler Guyton showed some promise as well. There's a lot of guys who showed promise on the offensive line. I need to see it. Caden Green is like, we had a question from 1982 in the chat. Who are the guys who need to play well? And I'm going to say need, like really, really emphasize. It's Caden Green needs to play well. There's a couple of young guys on the offense that'll be fun to see them play well. They don't need to play well. We need the offensive line young guys to go out and play well so we can have some more depth.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. I feel like every year we have this. Recently, we've had not a fully complete line where you have like a mix of young guys, a mix of old guys, but it hasn't been a total complete unit like we've seen in previous years under Beatonbow. And these young guys are going to have to be it. I don't know if they'll be it this year. They have to be it this year if Oklahoma wants to make a run at anything. If they want to make a run at winning a Big 12 again, or obviously, I don't know what our borderline is, or if that's our expectation this year, given how crap we were last year. But if they want to make a run at anything seriously, they're going to have to step up and perform.
In the preseason, you can say anything. People are saying Colorado is going to have above 500, so you could say anything in the preseason.
Yeah, Deion Sanders' kid is going to win the Heisman. All that good stuff.
That is arguably more likely than Colorado going above 500. How that scenario would play out is
I don't know how they go under 500 and he's the Heisman, but you know what? Shoot your shot. My gosh. But yeah, getting back on topic, let's talk defense. I know Bobby hinted at Peyton Bowen, and then the other answer, who needs to play well. I don't know if Peyton Bowen needs to play well, but I'd really like to see him play well because we want difference makers at the safety. I think Billy Bowman can be that type of person. Can Peyton Bowen be next to Billy and make our safeties become extreme playmakers that I don't feel like are liabilities on the defense? For years now, I feel like we've always had liabilities at the safety position, where our last unit of defense that where a lot of the things break through on the defensive line and the linebacking level, our safeties kind of just botch it. So it'd be nice to have extreme athletes back there, but a guy that I think needs to come out and I hope to see doing really well, and I hope he plays in the spring game. And to be honest with you, I'm not sure if he will, is Gentry Williams. That's the guy I'm looking for whenever you go out there. He had that scare where he collapsed in practice, but now he's been doing light work on the side, and I don't know if he's fully back in. But if he's back in practice, he's got pads on, he should have cleared all of his cardiac testing that they said he was doing. they would have not let him be playing at all if he had some kind of cardiac thing that'd make him at risk of passing out on the field and having like a scary event. But he's the guy who should be the shoe-in quarterback replacement for Jaden Davis leaving the transfer portal. Absolute extreme athlete. Harboring the guys that are here in Oklahoma and turning them into success stories is another big, big thing. I think Gentry Williams having success coming from Tulsa to Oklahoma, starting as a young guy and making a big splash is huge for this program in their future.
Yeah, no, I mean, I absolutely agree. Gentry Williams, really getting a guy from Tulsa and taking him to the next level would be huge, of course, but also just and generally just getting back to normalcy after that scare, getting more live action, type of play, putting that behind you. That's big. So hopefully he's able to rebound and do well.
Yeah. Ty, who's your guy? Because I got a couple other guys in the defense I want to talk about after you.
I have sort of a general defensive thing, and I think I'll pass it back to you and then maybe bounce it back. But generally defensive, I do want to say this is something that I don't necessarily know how much you can really read into too much. I think the defense, scoring-wise, obviously we touched on the scoring of the game, but I think when it comes to replicating real-life games and showing what your force is actually capable of, I think defense is at a pretty big disadvantage in the spring game because they're always having to, hold something back. And I do think that maybe we might not get a super accurate representation when it comes to the defense. Obviously, this goes for all of the position groups, but I think the defense as a whole is severely disadvantaged in the way that they have to go at this. I know that, it's just one of those things where if you're not going 100, because so much of the defense is based around, a violence of action, I suppose. I can't think of another term, and going out there and, putting your face mask on his numbers and hitting someone. And that's just not really what's going. You're not trying to ring people's bell in the spring game. So there is a bit of a disadvantage there. So I did want to say that when it comes to the defense.
Yeah, no, I think you're totally right. I mean, they literally cannot hit the quarterback. He's wearing a blue shirt. So that's from the get-go. That automatically, changes the nature of things. It's not going to be a proper full-speed football game, which makes it kind of difficult to evaluate.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so sad that one of the most exciting guys on the defense that is a newcomer that we'd want to see in full effect going out there and making plays is Rondale Bothroyd. He's the guy that they've been talking a lot about in practice of like being the answer at defensive end that we didn't have last year. Like, Reggie Grimes and Ethan Downs, we were thinking they could be a decent pass rush defensive ends for us at the beginning of the season, but that's just because they bullied lesser opponents. Whenever you got bigger guys on the offensive line, their bull rushing did not work, and they needed more speed and more finesse. Rondo Bothroyd's got some finesse. He can get to the quarterback, and he seems like he's been causing some troubles. It sucks that, defensive line, defensive ends really can't show out too much in this game, but I'll still be watching them. But if you want to talk about like a guy that's, that might actually be a starter for us or kind of like do this like back and forth, might be starting, might not be, is Reggie Pearson, Texas Tech transfer, big hitter. Looks like him and Key Lawrence have kind of been swapping back on with the ones. It seems like they're in some kind of like, battle. And I feel like Key Lawrence is a guy that like we thought, oh man, he's pretty good piece for us. Whenever he played cornerback for us and he shut down a cornerback, we're like, oh man, this is a guy that I feel pretty good and should be one of our top 4 defensive backs and should be on the field at all times. Now it's getting to the point where I don't know, Reggie Pearson might go over and take his spot. And I think that's real respect towards him. And I kind of want to see what he can bring.
Yeah, Pearson is a very interesting prospect for sure. He's a guy, keep in mind, for those of you that don't remember, he's a guy that absolutely smoked the hell out of Dylan Gabriel in OU's last matchup with Texas Tech in that overtime period. Ty's nodding. He remembers.
My kind of guy. Yeah. Make him a captain.
I want him to do it again. Do it again in the spring
do
game.
it again. Do it in the spring game. So we run the Wildcat.
And in transition to bowl predictions, Reggie Pearson lays out Dylan Gabriel, and we don't see him a single game through the rest of the season.
He gets kicked off the team because
he pulls the longest yard hit where they're just both out for the remainder of the season.
He's like, it was just instinct, man. I couldn't hold myself back.
That dude put it in his highlight tape. He said, "I need another. I need two."
His highlight tape when he transferred to OU. It's hilarious.
Yeah. Here's my bold take for this spring game.
Bold take.
And I don't. If you're saying like how bold it is, bold.
I thought you said here's my bold take. I was like, "Ooh, we're getting ahead of ourselves."
We're going back to the Cheez-It Bowl, baby. Back to the Cheez-It. But with a better record, that's my take. But my actual bold take for this spring game is going to rely on the offense. Because I think with this point system, I think the defense is going to be aggressive in the secondary. I think they're going to be jumping routes. They're going to be the guys say like, "Ooh, I was the one who got those points on the scoreboard." How many times can defensive defenders without doing a pick six get on the scoreboard? Very little to none. So I think they're going to be aggressive. And I think that's going to cause a lot of deep routes. I think they're going to get tricked. And I think there's going to be some guys going to be running free. So I'm going to say, I think we get 2 50-plus yard touchdowns. And you can guess who one of them is going to be. But Andrew Anthony is going to be one. And I think Gavin Freeman gets one as well off the slot, 50-plus yard touchdown as well. That's my bold take.
I could see Freeman getting some on some like little trickery, Beedenbow's the head coach for the red team. So I could see him, getting weird with it. You wouldn't expect it from Beedenbow, but I could see him getting tricky.
Yes, Beedenbow.
I'm about it.
I need a trick play, a passing of the torch moment. I need a trick play pass to Stoops, who passes it to Freeman for a touchdown, a true passing of the torch.
So people would stop confusing them whenever they're running down the middle of the field. It's whenever Gavin Freeman catches him to go Stoops. And I'm like, oh no, he's not. His number isn't even close, guys. His number is very far away from this.
Oh no!
We're
not gonna.
They're literally just pulling the Tom Hanks and Elvis
anymore. Yeah. Okay, but I did actually have a defensive player as we're starting to move on. I didn't want to cap it off. I did have one specific defensive player that I wanted to highlight personally. Okay, so Brent Venables has been very successful in his career as a whole. Obviously, still getting his legs about him as a head coach. That's all right. But one of his hallmarks at Clemson, obviously he was the defensive coordinator there, so he couldn't have had a hallmark on the offense. But his real hallmark at Clemson was the D-line. So Brent Venables, D-line, obviously our head coach, that's his thing. But this is the Schooner Pod podcast. That's why pod's in the name. And one thing about the Schooner Pod is we have a weird affinity for a place down south called Texas State University. Why we have an affinity for Texas State is beyond me. I think it's because it's the only school in Texas that has academic standards lower than OU's. So that is
hey, Texas Tech exists, man.
Okay, yeah. If you acknowledge Texas Tech as a university,
did you guys know? Sorry, as an aside, that Texas Tech University is the only reason, not one of the only reasons, but they saved the champagne industry. They made the cure for a problem with their vines, and they cured the vines in Champagne. So they could legitimately, I went over there and oh, you guys are from Texas. We love Texas Tech people here because they cured our problems because of their biology labs. You told
the people in Europe that you're from Texas?
Well, Ashley's from Texas, so she would say that.
Jamison, international afraid to admit he's from Oklahoma. Interesting news. Where'd you tell me you went to college? It's always easier to explain
that, though. Because nobody knows what Oklahoma is.
Oh, why would I have to brag about education to these people? There's no point. I would just say where I'm from.
I will say, I love
But you told them you're from Texas.
They asked where we're from, and Ashley said Texas because she's from Texas.
It's
Oh,
probably
goodness.
just a reaction, but I'll say
Gosh,
this: I
dude,
love how
she's-
Texas Tech, notably not smart, but when Booze was in danger, they stepped up and got it fixed.
Sorry, Ty. I thought that was too funny of a story to say.
They
Go
found
back
a
and
way.
talk about
No,
our boy.
that is good. Do I believe it? No, not one bit. But that is a fun. Never let the truth get in the way of a good story. That's what I always say. Anyways, what I was going to say, you guys already know who I'm going to talk about. Defensive lineman Davion Sears, transfer from Texas State. Boko, we love us some Boko. So obviously not a super flashy transfer. Didn't really even make a lot of news. It made the news for us, but I love the storyline. And if it, say what you're going to say about Brent Venables as a head coach, I know I've said some lines for the sake of playing a character earlier on the podcast, but I still believe that he has the potential. And whether or not he's successful as a head coach, one thing I do know is that he is beyond a shadow of a doubt successful as a defensive coordinator and at picking out defensive linemen. So if he likes a guy and says, I'm going to take you as a transfer onto my team, because then you're looking at a college level highlight reel, especially for a guy. I trust his instinct, and I think I don't think there's very many people out there in the world that can really doubt Brent Venables' judgment when it comes to a defensive lineman. So I'm very excited to see for the storylines a D lineman coming over from Boko and hopefully making a tremendous impact on this Oklahoma team.
Yeah, I love the Boko connection. I'm very excited to see how he plays. Obviously, pretty upside type of guy. I believe 247 had him as a 4-star transfer. So obviously not, fresh off of high school or anything. He did end up at Boko after all. But no, I love it. I think an experienced guy like that could really help invigorate the D line. I'm about it. Also, I saw that another OU player transferred to Boko, so that means we have two
Josh
Sooners
Eaton
in San Marcos
who was
right
the other
now.
one? Josh Eaton.
It
Who
was
was the
very
other one?
recently.
Oh well, I'm proud of them. They made a great decision.
Good. Oh yeah, I actually saw someone wearing a Texas State shirt at Costco today. No free ads or anything, but I swear I saw it. They walked out. What?
I said I love it. I'm all for it.
Yeah, and it wasn't Jamison, so first time I've seen that. So, do we want to just kind of whip out? Whoa, that came off wrong. Do some bold predictions really quick.
Yes, I already said
mine.
Because
we still have quite a bit to go.
Yeah, y'all take yours out.
So Jamison
yours out, and I already took mine
Jamison
out
whipped his out earlier, so I'll whip mine out. I'm gonna. I'll say this. I think Peyton Bowen's the player of the game. I think he has a pick 6 touchdown, and I know that sounds spicy, but that's a whole 12 points for the white team. But I think he really shows out and has a massive game. Ty,
what about you, Ty?
Gosh, I don't know. Bold predictions for the spring game, I feel like, is just such a. I don't know, because it's a practice. So I mean, practice. We're talking about practice, but goodness, I don't know. I think my most optimistic bold prediction is, and I'm not at all. I'm not at all trying to play a character here. I know the lines get so blended because I have so many of these real takes in real life too. But I think my bold prediction is I think it was Jamison called 2 50-plus yard touchdowns. I think bold prediction, it clicks with Dylan Gabriel, hopefully. This is my prayer. This is my curse. Bold prediction, we get 2 50-plus yard wide open touchdowns, and he actually completes the pass. So that's my bold prediction. And I'm not saying that as a joke. I'm not saying that as a joke because I'll make the joke about he can't hit a long pass because he can't accurately. He can't accurately, yeah. Or in the past at Oklahoma, he cannot. So my bold prediction, hopefully it clicks for him.
I hope it clicks more too. I definitely hope it clicks more. All right, let's move on to another big event of spring game, Kyler Murray statue getting unveiled. This is pretty cool. It's the last statue that we know of that's going up soon for OU. And Kyler, I think, has to me, a bit of a significance because not only did his finals or his season occur on my last year at OU, but also it was our first year podcasting, Jamison. The inaugural Schooner Pod season was the Kyler year. So a lot of cool trips down memory lane for me. It's cool looking at these and being like, oh, I remember podcasting about this one, or
I remember that
this
Texas
was
game very, very prominently. All the things that I said, I said, you're not Michael Vick. Stop holding the ball so crazy. But that's probably going to be his Heisman pose, anyways.
Oh yeah, holding the ball like out this far. Yeah. No, definitely. It's funny listening back to some of those because we were pretty harsh on. I wouldn't say pretty harsh on Kyler because we were like, he's really good, but it wasn't until like kind of the end of the season where we're like, oh my god, this guy might be better than Baker, and oh my god, this guy might win the Heisman. Because we were a little nitpicky with him, but anyways, I want to ask what's y'all's favorite game, Kyler, of the Kyler Heisman season? There's some good ones in there.
I'll go first. I feel like I have an unconventional one, and I'm not doing this for the sake of being unconventional. And I'm also not doing this for the sake of tooting my own horn. But 2017, so Baker's year, against West Virginia. So obviously the corrupt NCAA saw fit to punish Baker for nothing against Kansas. He did nothing wrong. I will reiterate that. And they chose to lash out against him because he was doing too good. So Kyler had to start the game. Kyler Murray comes out against West Virginia. And let me just read you his stats for the game. Keep in mind, so he had played before. This was not his first time registering snaps with OU. He'd played against UTEP. He was in an absolute garbage time against Ohio State, I believe. He played a couple snaps against Tulane. And then he played a couple snaps against Kansas as well. Kyler Murray starts the game. So technically the starter because Baker's out. He comes out. His stats for the game, he started the game with a, I believe, 66-yard run. And right then I knew. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn because I think many other Oklahoma fans knew this too. Wright starts out the game, 66-yard rush. He finished the game with 3 rushes for 80 yards, so averaging 26.7. He had 2 passes, 2 completions for 52 yards and a touchdown. In that game against West Virginia on November 25th, I knew that we were in good hands. Better hands, who knows? They were equally as good when they were at OU. And it was beyond a special time. And I just think 2018 was the full course that was delicious. But that appetizer against West Virginia in 2017, when you knew what was coming, if you were paying attention, you saw it. The rest of the Big 12 saw it, and they knew, oh, God, there's not going to be a break from this Oklahoma quarterback onslaught. It might even get worse. It's about to get worse. That is my absolute favorite Kyler OU game.
Yeah, I mean, it was quite a moment, and it's funny looking back on it now, thinking about Lincoln Riley trying to spin that there was a quarterback battle, and that we didn't know Kyler was gonna be the starting quarterback. He said it was neck and neck, I believe. I'm like, no, he's always been this good. He's always been that insane. But yeah, no. Jamison, what's your favorite Kyler game?
It's got to be the rematch from the Texas game, the Big 12 championship. There's no doubt in my mind. That game was so fun, and obviously we still had some scars. Anytime you lose to Texas and you can come back and you can beat them, it's just such a beautiful game. Being at that one, trash talking Texas fans, and having that game kind of under control felt so good. And Kyler Murray had a problem with turnovers in that Texas game in the Red River rivalry. 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions in the championship game. Felt like it was under control. Just, I think, even though it was a little bit close, I think we thoroughly handed a big fat L to Texas, and they didn't have much to say about it.
Yeah, no, Kyler was awesome in that one. And not only that was definitely the game of the season to me It's my favorite Big 12 championship by far. The way it happened with the Ellinger sack in the end zone and
It
everything.
was
Oh,
beautiful.
it was so fun.
That fourth quarter, we just pounded them because it was tied going into the fourth. And, it was tied, but it's like we really were playing a lot better than them. And then we just shut them out.
Yeah. Had that Calcaterra like a little one-handed catch. It's just an epic game. But for me, my favorite Kyler game is the one that happened right before that. The 59-56 win at West Virginia, do or die on Black Friday. It was an absolute unreal performance from OU there. Stakes were high. Obviously, everything was so intense going into that one. It was a cold, crappy game, but Kyler Murray stepped up. He had 364 yards, 3 touchdowns through the air, and then on the ground, 114 yards, capped off by a 55-yard touchdown. That was just a dagger in Mountaineer hearts. That to me was the pinnacle of Kyler Murray at OU, just doing everything he could to will his team to victory despite all the odds, despite how shoddy the defense was that particular year with the Mike Stoops, Ruffin McNeil coach defense. Just
man, that name Ruffin
disaster.
McNeil just made me smile. It just brought back memes.
Ruffin. That defense completely failed Kyler, and it's unfortunate he didn't get a chance to do more. I don't know. I think with a decent defense, that Alabama game could have been way more interesting. As outside of that first quarter, it was a pretty tight game, and I know Saban was probably managing it differently, but he can't. Saban did say we gave him some troubles down the line.
Yeah, what else are they gonna say? Obviously, he gave him some troubles because they weren't trying as hard. That game was an utter blowout, and we got demolished. And our offense obviously looked like we were handicapped too. And it was Hollywood's fault, really, because of him being hurt. Not his fault, but no, I'm not saying like fault, but like it was more because of like not having like one of your best players, if not the second best player on the team, up to par and healthy.
Yeah, it just took him out. But last little Kyler question, just really quick, kind of yes or no, couple sentences. Is Kyler Murray the best Sooner quarterback of all time?
No, most talented.
Okay. Ty, what do you think?
Neither. So most talented is Troy Aikman. Best is Baker Mayfield. Or Sam Bradford. Sam is up there too. I will say. Sam may be better than Baker because Sam at least got us to a national championship game. So there is that.
Yeah, I think it's a debate. I think Kyler is more talented, but with the 1 year, it's kind of hard to call him the best just because he only had one full season. It is unfortunate he didn't get more of a stagger. I still think one of the more interesting what ifs is what if Baker's appeal got denied. He didn't get that last year. And then you have Kyler in 2017 instead of Baker. What would have happened? I think that could have been a pretty intriguing what if. Probably the same thing. But because
we would have had a little bit of growing pains, kind of like we did in the early part of the year. But the postseason would have been really interesting.
Yeah, they don't beat Ohio State and Columbus. You wouldn't think so.
No way.
That was all Baker's seasoned, moxie, all of that. That came from 3 years of going through the grind. Rosie's freaking out.
Yeah, Rosie has some opinions about what you're saying right now, Bob.
Rosie's like, no one mentioned Jalen. She's like, no love for Landry Jones.
The highest paid quarterback in NFL. Come on.
That's true. But let's see notes, pros projections. We already said it's gonna be him holding the ball out
and if they don't, it's gonna be if they just do a basic throwing motion. Come on, you've got to have him running.
It's got to be his little scramble for sure. All right, let's move on.
I'm going against. Just for the record, I'm going against just because of how they went with Baker's.
Where they had to revise it so they didn't look like he had Peyton Manning's forehead. They put a Nike
That's
little
not what
sliver
I
on
mean.
there at the
Pose
end.
wise,
It's
right?
because of his
They
headband.
they do not follow the democratic process when it comes to the poses.
Yeah,
It should have
but
been.
the flag planting is just a very, very difficult. Like Michelangelo,
The
commissioning
flag
this
planting is not
sculpture.
the one that I voted for, but okay.
Okay, gotcha. Oh, yes, indeed, indubitably. Excuse me, I know what you're talking about now.
Oh yeah, the Kansas. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah,
There's Bobby. He's showed up to the party now.
it clicked. It clicked. But no, yeah, Baker's the flag plant wasn't going to happen. I still think we should celebrate that more because it was really awesome. Freaking Michigan out here, they have like preserved the flag from their way more inferior flag plant. It's just like, oh come on, like we need to be a little cooler there. But anyways, look, Jamison, I believe you have a pretty big announcement for us as it relates to spring game. What is going on Saturday? What you got doing?
If y'all are listeners to this podcast and loyal listeners, you would know y'all talk about hot dogs way too damn much. Why is it always in your punishments? Last year for our college pick'em challenge, it was you had to eat a hot dog a day for 2 weeks, Bobby?
It wasn't
Was
2 weeks. It was a full week.
It was just 1 week.
And then a double dog.
Then
day.
yes, and then this year, Ty will be doing the 999 challenge. What's the math on that? What would that be? Whatever. A week from Saturday. A week from the spring game.
Not this Saturday, not this Saturday, but next.
So what do you think I should do? I'm scrolling through social media and I see a sponsored ad from Oklahoma football. Apply to be in the hot dog eating competition before the game. And I said that I was made for this. I was absolutely made for this. I sent a wonderful application saying, 2-time speed eating hot dog champion. I didn't say current because that's Bobby. I'll give him his credibility on that.
Thank you.
And kind of hit their heartstrings a little bit. Like this might be my last game in Norman for a little bit because I'm moving. And what do you know? Got a text, and I'll be performing in the Schwab's hot dog eating competition about an hour after the Kyler Murray statue. So the Kyler Murray statue will be at 11:30 in Heisman Park on the east side of the stadium. Come see me guzzle down as many hot dogs as I can in 10 minutes at 12:30 north side of the stadium, where like the little festivities will be going on that they'll have out there.
The party at the
Palace. Be ready. Party at the Palace. Yes. I'll be ready, and I'm going to. So the winner last year took down 10. If I only take down 10, I'm going to be disappointed in myself.
Well, Jamison, we'll be there on site. I'll be there recording the whole thing. We'll have to dust off the old. Actually, you know what? I think we can go live on YouTube. I will film you.
Please,
so if you can't make it to the north side of the stadium to watch Jamison guzzle them dogs down, I will film it for y'all. We'll make sure to have full coverage. The Schooner Pod, we'll keep you advised. I'll let you know. I'll be on site. And who knows? Maybe we'll get some post dog eating words from the man himself. We'll see how it goes. Either it's going to go horrible or great. I don't know, but we will be there to document the whole thing.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be so glorious.
Y'all
should color comment it as well. Give me some analysis throughout.
College game day. We'll do college game day for the thing. Big noon Saturday, dude. Big noon kickoff. You got it this weekend.
If y'all don't know what I look like, if you haven't been watching on YouTube, I'm probably going to look the stupidest there. That's kind of my goal. So if you don't know which one I am, I'm probably the one wearing some stupid hat. I'm not going to reveal what it is. Real ones know what I'm wearing, but I'm going to be looking pretty stupid.
You know what we should do is we should establish an over-under. So for the fans listening, last year, Jamison, you can correct me on this because you told me this, but last year it was a 10-minute time limit, and the winner got 10 dogs down. Yeah. So one per minute in 10 minutes. To me, that sounds kind of beatable. And I am, as we know, not an eater. So that will be interesting to see. I think we should get together and establish a line, maybe get Boat and Blake on and get some gambling predictions. Obviously we can't gamble on this as it is in Oklahoma. And that's, I guess,
we no longer endorse gambling on this podcast.
No,
yeah, I don't really know how it works, honestly, within Oklahoma. But yeah, maybe we'll get a little line together, some predictions, some non-financially tied predictions.
The Schooner Pod
For
Sports.
how many glizzies Jamison can guzzle?
That's going to be what brings the pod down.
Do you think
is
10
underground
is like
gambling
a
on
line?
hot dog eating?
I think you get more than 10. I think you get more than 10. Not to spoil it, but I think it's. I mean, obviously, it's kind of dependent on the dog and what equipment. Do you get the standard water cup that is industry standard for hot dog eating contests?
Yeah, that is a big thing. I should bring in my own cup. You're making a very good point here.
But yeah, if they don't give you a cup, that would be a crime. I would definitely bring your own. But even with a cup, unwatered buns obviously makes it a little harder. But I believe in you. I think you get more than 10. I don't necessarily want to reveal my prediction, but certainly it's more than 10.
I need to bring a big jug of water, a big souvenir like an old OU stadium cup, and maybe something a little bit sweeter like a Gatorade or something to help me get this down. Because for people that don't know my history of competitive eating, I feel like you should know statistics before you go into this. We've only kind of done speed as like a group, like on this podcast. But in terms of, endurance, which we'll be doing here on Saturday, my only endurance eating competition that I did is I did those big old breaded chicken nuggets from like Great Value that just destroy your mouth. Like these are not ones you're popping like Chick-fil-A nuggets. These are the big old nuggets. And I took down 40 of those in 10 minutes. So how many hot dogs can I eat? I don't know. I feel like I can at least do a fourth of the nuggets that I did.
I think you can beat 10. I believe in you.
Let's look. I mean, I need to go look up, honestly, like what are like the last place people in the Nathan's hot dog eating competition getting.
Yeah. So let's look at the Nathan's hot dog eating competition results from last year. So that's because I'm curious, like what is the barrier for like a
last place was 20. And so that makes me nervous. Like last place got 20, like these are professionals here.
Right.
Well,
yeah.
Professional just means you get paid for what you do.
Well, I didn't get I'm getting 2 complimentary spring game tickets for this. Thank you, Oklahoma.
Yeah, so legally, I think that would be a recruiting violation. You are, in fact.
I lost my eligibility. Unfortunately. Man, if it wasn't for those injuries back in high school, who knows what it could have been with my eligibility.
Who knows if it didn't take out my knee.
Oh my God. But I'm excited. Everyone listening, that whether you're my friend or not, come check me out. North side of the stadium, 12:30, an hour after that Kyler Murray statue reveal. You'll see the Kyler Murray statue reveal. Just waltz your way over just a couple more steps. Come check me out as I will be doing the 2 wiener and then buns in water strategy. 2 wieners at a time.
Have you done any practice?
No, I thought I was going to do it last weekend, but then I said, you know what? Screw it. Let's go do it live.
You're just trying to go in raw?
Yes, I'm going to
raw dog it.
Yes.
Okay. I think that's where we end the podcast. Any final thoughts there, Ty?
Nope.
Okay. Let's wrap this one up. Okay, everyone. Thank y'all so much for listening to this edition of the Schooner Pod. We would love to see you out on Saturday if you're in town. Make sure to check out Jamison. It's going to be a sight to see. It's going to be fun. Looking forward to seeing the Sooners on Saturday. So we'll be back next week to break down the action. Get excited. Get excited for that 999. It's coming. It's like this close. So a lot of hot dog related content coming your way for some reason. On the span of a couple weeks. But anyways, for me, Jamison and Ty, this has been the Schooner Pod. Thank you so much for watching or listening. We'll see you next time. Boomer Sooner, everybody.